welcome to my studio!
This is the place where every single one of my videos is made. All of my projects are completed right here. It's technically a fully functioning little house, maybe slightly bigger than an official tiny home. This is the new sunroom where I do a lot of my shoots, and only now it's really officially finished, so you'll see a lot more of it in future videos. This is the living room where I've done a lot of my unboxing videos, and attached is the kitchen where I wash all my horses in the sink. Beside the kitchen is the washroom. This place also has full laundry, so if I ever need to wash something, I can do it right here. This is Sandy, studio dog number 1. She's a German Shepherd mix and is 6 years old. If you've watched my videos, you've seen her in a lot of unboxing videos. And this is studio dog number 2, Yeta-chan. He's a purebred Shiba Inu, and you can see a picture of him in every single video because he gives more information when I miss something. He's 4 years old. And this is my studio itself. Please don't mind all the clutter, it's a very small space and a lot of stuff. That's Eric's desk where he makes all of the trailers. And I have the big corner desk. That's exactly where I'm recording this video right now. And of course, here is my resin collection. Once upon a time I had nearly 100 Breyers, but I've sold them all and paid off the resins. Same hobby, different direction. And we can't forget studio cat Suki. She's frequently hanging out on the back of my chair or in her cat condo. This studio has changed a lot since I started the channel in 2021. For one thing, the sunroom didn't exist at the beginning. Yep, that also means that this studio tour and collection video has been 3 years in the making. The building sits on a 100-acre thoroughbred breeding horse farm. It's mine, by the way, and it overlooks the paddocks. You can see the barn and the driveway, and there's another house on the property. Maybe one day I'll do a barn tour and introduce you to all the horses. Now on to what you're really here for, the collection tour. I'll try to group the horses into what seems to make sense. Let's start with resin. The first traditional resin in my collection is Super Lumina 2, sculpted by Maggie Bennett. Painted as a portrait by Lynn Cassels-Caldwel of Snowdrift Studios as one of my old horses, 357. She is the striking image of what that horse used to do to me on the hunt field. This lady is due for some repairs and is really tippy, but she's one of my top horses in my collection and still pulls in all the ribbons, even after all these years. Another portrait, I think this was the second traditional resin in my collection. This is Fire, sculpted by Kitty Cantrell, painted by Nikki Button. She's a portrait of one of my old race horses who never actually made it to the track, named Flaxen Queen. I kept the name for the model too. She is the full sister to Canadian champion Pink Lloyd, and I don't own her anymore, but somebody I know owns her. This little pony might seem familiar from his unboxing video, the most popular video on my channel. Royal Canadian Mint, as I call him, is a Kipling resin sculpted by Morgan Kilbourn, painted by Darren Benarchuk of Deejaybe Studios. To this day, he's one of my favorites in my collection. This is Grasshopper, sculpted by Mindy Berg of Spruce Mountain Studio. I think only 35 plus a few artist copies were created of this horse, so she's actually quite rare. She's painted by Morriah Voogd into a nice cremello. I show her as a quarter horse now, but I'd love to know what you think what I should show her as. She's also the first real unboxing I did for my channel. This is my second Morriah Voogd paint job. This is Barely Jolie, sculpted by Kylee Parks of Studio Thornrose. She's also a portrait of my stepmom's mare, Phantom. Again, I have a whole unboxing video for her that explains the whole story. This is Victrix, sculpted by Carol Williams, painted by Karen Williams of Two Blue Dingoes Studios. A bit confusing, I know, but they're two separate people. This is another portrait model of my mare, Incidental Kiss, who sadly passed away a few years ago. She actually arrived to me from the artist just before she passed away. This is my second Snowdrift Studio Lynn Cassels-Caldwel piece, who I call Sedona. She's sculpted by Sue Kern of Sakori Customs. She's not a portrait, but is based off of a real Mustang mare. And she's a really, really good performance horse. That's all of my painted traditionals. Let's start moving down in size. This is a customized Union Jack resin sculpted by Kylee. He has a slightly customized turned head. He's also painted by Karen Williams of Two Blue Dingo Studios and is a memorial piece of Incidental Kiss's colt Ichiban, who passed away at 3 months old. To be honest, I'm not sure who sculpted this horse, and unfortunately I can't read the stamp on her belly. But I did personally paint her, and her last time out she came out with a resin championship. Her name is Saoirse, and I completed her in Heather Bullock's oil painting class. This is a mini Kimosabi sculpted by Sarah Rose, painted by Nikki Button as a portrait of my old horse Grenade. He was my heart horse and passed away way too soon in a paddock accident. He's the most memorable horse for me in my collection and one of my favorites. Another resin sculpted by Morgan Kilbourn. This is Up Biddy. I painted him as a sort of portrait of a colt named Alex who I used to own. Well, I also bred him, but I sold him as a weanling. This model was to project how he would look in the future, and of course now he's an adult. I also painted him in Heather Bullock's oil painting class. This is Mini Wahoo, sculpted by Kitty Cantrell again. I actually don't know who painted this guy, other than his belly says Mackenzie on it. I got him in a trade a few years ago, and he's really pretty in person. Forgive me, I don't know who sculpted this one. I think Brigitte Eberl, but I might be wrong on that. This is Stormvik. I painted him myself in mixed media. He's a portrait of the horse I rode in Iceland and the one who made me fall in love with the breed. This is my second Sarah Rose sculpture, Moxie. This was my second time painting Cremello, and it shows. She's not part of my show string, but I hope to repaint her at some point. This is Easy Taiga, a portrait model of one of my first homebreds. She's a Sandman resin sculpted by Horsin' Around. She was also one of my first Namo Pamo horses, and the first time I ever used pigments. And finally, we have Rerun. This is a Little Legs resin sculpted by Liesl Dolph. I think he was a Jennifer Show exclusive. And if you've been part of the channel for a while, you'll know him as one of my first repaint videos. For group shots, I try to group everyone in groups that made sense. These are all the larger portrait models I have. Actually, I forgot to include Stormvik and Rerun. This is my Morriah Voogd collection. This is my Nikki Button collection. This is my Lynn Cassels-Caldwel Snowdrift Studio collection. My Karen William collection also so happens to be mother and son. Here are all the horses that I painted. As you can see, they're all quite small. And I accidentally left Taiga out. Oops. Alex is my personal favorite in this collection. These are all of my larger resins. I mean, I have more, which I'll be talking about in a second, but this is everything from traditional down to stablemate. Out of all these horses, can you guess who's my most expensive? I'll let you know at the end of the video. Let's check out my micro collection. That's actually quite extensive. I started collecting micros way before I started collecting traditionals because of the cost. Most of them are still packed away, so we'll have to make do with some of my old show photos. This collection of horses are all Maggie micros that I painted myself. Some of them date all the way back to 2019, so the quality might not be the best. This collection is made up of Maggie micros that are painted by other artists, like this windswept resin that was my first ever micro, painted by Cristina Riley. Both of these horses were painted by Merrymead Farms. Forgive me, I can't remember the artist for this horse, but she was from Germany. These two were special paint jobs done by Neena Bickram. And this guy was painted by Helen Vanos, a local artist who's only about 40 minutes from me. Medallions live in the resin category. This bunch was all painted by me. This is a Heather medallion by Mel Miller. I believe this one is actually sculpted by Nikki Button. I believe this Morriah is sculpted by Kylee Parks of Studio Thornrose. I forget the name of this medallion, but it was sculpted by Cristina Riley. This is the first Namo Pamo medallion Van Gogh. And this Namo Pamo medallion stamp is completely faded, so I'm not sure who sculpted this one. These two medallions are Jennifer Show medallions, I believe both sculpted by Jennifer Scott. This medallion's name I think is Weston, or it has a very similar name because he's the shrunk down version of a larger horse, sculpted by Kylee Parks of Studio Thornrose. I believe this one is sculpted by Jennifer Scott for The Jennifer Show, and this one also has its own repaint video. These are the medallions that I didn't paint. This is a Raven Maddock Tuvok painted by Stephanie Blaylock. I won it while I was in North Carolina. This little heart is sculpted by Kylee Parks of Studio Thornrose and painted by Jen Constantine. You were probably expecting some massive, grand Breyer collection tour, but nope, this is it. The Grey Quarter Horse is actually my first ever Breyer, and he's what got me started on this crazy path. Oh, and this is my only China, a Beswick. I got him at a flea market once upon a time. And here's my collection of blanks. The big traditionals are eventually going to be sent off to professional artists all over the world. I might paint some of the smaller ones, but I'm not sure yet. What I can say is that some of these horses have paint jobs already planned out, and one or two of them have partial payments already down. The micros I will likely be painting myself, and you can look forward to that. If you want a blank collection tour, let me know and I can arrange that. I just thought that it would be too long for this video. Thank you so much for coming on this collection tour with me. Now you can finally see where I work. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at SelectArcane or on Facebook by the same name. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!